We're going to move into a panel for a deeper dive on the announcements today. So, all right, this is stablecoins, the CeDeFi era. So, for DAO from 2020 to 2023 in the protocol engineering team. And for those who don't know, Spark operates within the Sky, formerly Maker ecosystem, which is running the third largest stablecoin, USDS. So let's talk about stablecoin adoption. This is one of the clear product market fits that crypto blockchains has achieved. Even though we see some pullback during bearish conditions, this is a straight up adoption chart up and to the right for the most part. And there's three key trends that we see with stablecoins. So one, the open and permissionless nature of blockchains will drive stablecoin users to demand yield. Two, stablecoins are becoming competitive on scalable yield sources. And number three, banks and fintechs are actively exploring stablecoins. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of CeDeFi. This is from my perspective mainly as working at Maker over the years. So we can go back to 2020. This was the launch of DeFi, Maker and being one of the first DeFi protocols that launched. It actually launched at the end of 2019, but really started scaling up in 2020. And the environment back then was one of isolation. The loans that were issued by Maker at the time were CDP vaults, these collateralized debt positions. So maybe if some of you used the Maker protocol back in the day, this is collateralizing your ETH and Bitcoin and then taking a loan out against that. And this proved to be a fairly scalable yield source, scaling to several billion dollars during bull market conditions. But then, yeah, we move on to 2022, and we have a rising interest rate environment. So because a lot of the backing of DAI at the time was USDC, which was not paying a yield, there was this huge demand for getting access to the treasury bill rate. And so this is what drove a lot of the growth in RWAs during that year, specifically tokenized T-bill products. Stablecoins were the largest buyer of tokenized treasury bills, and we saw great adoption during that year. So moving on to 2024, we see the invention of tokenized hedge funds, which is providing access to funding rates on centralized exchanges. This also proved to be quite a scalable yield source. So open interest on perpetual futures is like several $100 billion. And so being able to get access to this, sometimes the yields were like mid double digits. So it was quite high. And then more recently, we have OTC crypto landing. This is the expansion of the CeDeFi era, as I call it. So this is loans similar to the on-chain version where it's using smart contracts, but this is instead using custodians off-chain where institutions can borrow against, it's primarily Bitcoin. And so really what institutions are looking for, they want access to this on-chain liquidity, but they want off-chain controls. So let's look at some of the problems with the current market for lenders. So first, we have limited control over risk management. So often you see maybe a mismatch between the token issuer and then those who are lending through that token. So the token issuer is incentivized to risk on, and this may not necessarily be aligned with the safety mechanisms of what the lender may want. So this leads into the second point. Visibility to collateral composition is important. There's a lot of offerings in the market that either are completely opaque or rely on third-party attestations. Another issue, credit structuring. DeFi lending markets have proven to be quite useful, but with the current design, there are some inefficiencies in interest rate pricing and risk tranching. And then the fourth point, collateral ownership. So collateral should ideally be custodied with either neutral third parties or smart contracts and not necessarily the borrower. So here's the problems with borrowers in the current market. So borrowers are really looking for scalable liquidity. They're looking for fixed rates. They're also looking for compliance. And capital efficiency is the other big point here, is that DeFi money markets they're quite safe with the collateral requirements, but on the other hand, they're also quite inefficient with the amount of collateral that has to be posted. So DeFi lending markets cannot really see outside of, say, Ethereum, for example. The collateral that's on that chain, it's restricted to that. So let's talk about how Spark is addressing these problems. So today I'm announcing two major product launches, Spark Prime, which is CeDeFi margin lending, and Spark Institutional Lending, which is financing for institutions. Let's talk about each of these in detail. So first, Spark Prime. So Spark Prime is built for institutional crypto borrowers. It enables capital-efficient, over-collateralized lending by allowing positions to be margined across DeFi protocols, centralized exchanges, and qualified custodians under a single risk framework. So how does this work? So Spark is able to tap into the liquidity of USDS, which is currently $9+ billion in total deposits, and then deploy that into other opportunities within the space. So within Spark Prime, Spark is able to borrow, say, USDC from the Sky protocol and then inject it into the Spark Prime market. This, within the walled garden of Spark Prime, borrowers are able to margin their positions across many different venues. So this includes on-chain collateral, DeFi, and this can be Hyperliquid, Pendle, Curve, but it also includes off-chain collateral through direct market access. So this is on exchanges Binance, OKX, and Bybit. So what are the benefits of Spark Prime? So one, we get more resilient access to delta-neutral lending strategies, the basis trade being the biggest one. And this is supported by over-collateralized positions rather than going directly into particular funds. We get enhanced capital efficiency. This is a drastic improvement over the traditional DeFi lending markets as you're able to margin across all of these different venues at once. In addition, we get greater transparency. So we have a data dashboard with Spark, and the goal is to produce all of the assets on the balance sheet so that as a depositor you have high confidence in where the money is actually going. So we have launched this with 3 institutional participants off the start, so Edge Capital, M1, and Hardcore Labs. This is just the start, though. We have many billions of AUM that is very interested in this product. Okay, so let's talk about institutional lending. So this is OTC crypto loans through Anchorage Digital, which is a qualified custodian. So really, similarly to Spark Prime, Spark is acting as the liquidity provider, injecting liquidity into the Anchorage platform, which will then connect with the borrowers on the other side. They can deposit crypto collateral. This is mainly Bitcoin. And then they're able to take over-collateralized loans against their positions. And Anchorage is the one that deals with the risk and monitoring so that positions are always maintained to be safe. And all of this is aimed to be visible on-chain. So let's talk about the benefits of institutional lending. So one, we have risk controls that are aligned with the core protocol rather than some intermediary. In addition, we have more efficient access to the borrowers. This is about as close as you can get to a direct relation. So it's reducing the cost due to middlemen. And additionally, the last point again, transparency. This is a very important point for Spark. So yeah, really transparency is the key piece. And this is our Northern Star. We aim to expose right down to the last cent about what is the exact positions that are collateralizing the stablecoin. So again, that you as a depositor in the protocol have confidence that your money is all there and where it is, and you can evaluate the risk for yourself. So the worlds of DeFi, CeFi, and TradFi are converging, and Spark is at the cutting edge of connecting DeFi outwards to meet institutions where they're at. We believe that when everybody has access, the world is a better place. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Sam, why don't you stay on stage while I get set up, and I'll have Sari and Alexander come on board. Guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Henry Arslanian. We're going to have a super exciting panel now on the world of CeDeFi. I like to even call it a crypto DeFi prime brokerage. So we'll go really into it. Sam, why don't you go sit there, and Alexander, you come next to me. So guys, my goal today, Prince, you come on stage as he gets things set up. So we're going to have a lot of exciting discussions about the topic of crypto DeFi prime brokerage and really delve into the topic. Thank you for those of you who are here. And this panel will also be recorded and shared on my Future Money podcast afterwards for those listening in their car or at home over the next couple of weeks and months. Really, we're going to try to go in as we're setting up here on stage. My goal is that really to cover the latest developments we are seeing in the world of CeDeFi, but particularly DeFi, crypto prime brokerage, and hopefully empower you with this information and then let you make your own decision on what the impact could be on the future of crypto trading, but also when it comes to actually the future of prime brokerage, capital efficiency, and the evolution of digital assets markets. Let me start actually by quickly introducing my panel today. Sam McPherson, as you just heard from him, is the CEO of Phoenix Labs. One thing you may not know about him, by the way, what he's not busy building, he's a big fan of wing foiling, going on the ocean and capturing the waves. So great to have you with us, Sam, today. Next is Seri Tishenko, the CEO of Arcus. They're obviously building this capital-efficient prime broker for digital markets. We'll talk all about it. One thing you may not know about Seri, by the way, his dad was a big football star in Ukraine, and even an Olympic champion at a time for the USSR. So here you go. By the way, as we're recording this right now, it's the Winter Olympic Games. As somebody from Canada, I have to say I'm watching the hockey games and see what happens there. And of course, we have Alexander Proskurian, the CPO of Arcus. One thing of Alexander you didn't know, well, probably didn't know, when he was young in Ukraine, he was one of the only 15 students in the country that got the perfect math score in the country. I always say, there's a lot of people who are good at math to come up in crypto, so I think it's a very common thread on that perspective. Let me quickly start with you, Seri, and then before I really want to today go deep dive on crypto prime brokerage, capital efficiency, and how it's going to affect the future of trading. But before we do that, just maybe to set the scene, when it comes to CeDeFi, traditionally centralized trading was operating in a silo, DeFi trading was operating in a silo. There was actually very little interaction between both. Where do you think we are in the broader integration of both of these ecosystems?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Can you hear me? All right, good. Yeah, so, this is one of the primary reasons why we started Arcus. Our target was basically to connect these two trading universes for any trading firm that operates in both CeFi and DeFi. And I feel that we ourselves started with DeFi prime brokerage. We started collateralizing DeFi assets, providing leverage and cross-margining across DeFi trading venues because hedge funds needed it.
Yep.
But with the time, it's been 3 years, a little bit more since we started, hedge funds grew and their trading universe grew. Most of the DeFi hedge funds that we started working with initially, they expanded into CeFi as well. So they need to grow their market, their trading universe as well, and we started including CeFi. So I would say the industry as a whole is growing, and everything is converging, as was in presentation of Sam. As hedge fund grow, and we're trying to include all of the trading universes with the best trading opportunities.
So maybe, Sam, before I move it to you, Alexander, can you, Sam, share with our audience, how are you able to bridge? Because we had these two pools of capitals that were operating in silos beforehand. How are we able now to have the CeDeFi actually come in, especially when it comes to a lot of hedge funds? A lot of their trading happens between centralized exchanges, and before it was all on one exchange. How are you able to actually bridge these two gaps that we have between DeFi and CeFi?
Yeah, and maybe before I answer that, to set some context about the relation between Spark Prime and Arcus. So Arcus is the technology provider. This is what these guys have built. And Spark Prime is a specific instance that uses Spark's risk management and liquidity. So this just to set the context there. But yeah, to answer your question, really the bridging, we look at it as on one side you have this huge amount of stablecoin demand, which comes from stablecoin adoption in general. And then we're looking always to deploy it into various venues. And so access to CeFi, funding rates in particular, has been relatively inaccessible before. And so we view this CeDeFi merging as, there's an element of either TradFi or CeFi coming on chain, but we also want to branch out in the other direction just to kind of build this bridge. So from Spark's position, we are supplying the liquidity and the risk management of the positions. But Arcus has built the margining platform technology that can look across all these venues and enforce the positions.
Maybe I'll move it to you actually on this one, Alexander. I mean, to what extent we had traditionally a capital inefficiency problem in DeFi. Of course, everything is over collateralized. How do you believe this can actually address that challenge and make capital more efficient? I mean, not only when you look at CeFi, DeFi, but also within the DeFi ecosystem as well.
I mean, the issue is overall, like DeFi and institutional asset management is crypto, that it has actually started as over-collateralized by design. But if you take a look at, like a traditional finance ecosystem and hedge funds ecosystem, it is inherently built on leverage.
Yep.
So this is what you need. Like you cannot operate in a delta neutral way in traditional finance space unless you have leverage. So, and we can already see this in crypto. Of course, when your spreads, like back in the day, were like 20, 30, 40%, of course, leverage was not that important.
Yeah.
But the issue was, what comes now is that spreads are becoming like more tight, ecosystem is more efficient, and we can really see a huge demand from hedge funds in terms of leverage and being able to cross-collateralize assets in different parts of the system. And this is the problem we solve for.
So can you explain more on this? Maybe Sarah, I'll move it to you. So obviously, as you mentioned, when you're running a hedge fund, running a lot of these strategies, first you need balance sheet, right? So this is something within, in your case, the USDS ecosystem. There's balance sheet that is core because we need leverage because the returns we're getting, the good old days of 30, 40% are gone, or long gone. But obviously you need risk management, right? A lot of these positions are completely, the long or the short are basically a delta of one. How are we able to, let's say we deep dive, let's go a level deep, right? If you're talking to a hedge fund manager, how are we able to do the portfolio margining, and especially on the two legs of the trade, to address the risk issue?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the main thing for prime broker who wants to provide portfolio margin is visibility and access.
Yeah.
So essentially, the way we approached it initially is that we took existing CeFi prime brokerage model, like I don't know, FalconX, Hidden Road have implemented, and the way it works, they have master brokerage accounts that are opening sub accounts for their clients.
Yep.
It allows them visibility to take a look inside at each sub account, and it allows them to liquidate positions. They have full control while allowing some trading actions for borrower to execute. And we took this model, implemented that ourselves, and extrapolated it on DeFi as well through smart contracts. So essentially, we have a network of smart contracts that recreated similar relationship. Like we basically mint new smart contracts for each client, and client uses this smart contract to trade on other venues, as if it was his own wallet. Yeah. And it allows us for these two same things. We are able to access those smart contracts, take a look at what's happening inside, calculate margin, and if necessary, liquidate them. And then we have one singular margin engine that looks inside at all of these instances and essentially calculates joint portfolio margin for both CeFi instances and DeFi.
Because traditionally, even for a lot of the prime brokerage of crypto without DeFi, each one of these exchanges, for example, was seen as one separate account. It was not even put out together, which is one thing you guys have been doing on that space. One challenge, when you look at the broader asset management space, they would say there's always the issue of counterparty risk. Yeah. Right? We had it with exchanges, and obviously now when you have crypto prime brokers, you have counterparty risk to the crypto prime broker. And similar, by the way, when we had the Lehman 2008 and and everything that happened there. How do you guys dealing with this counterparty risk issue? When clients tell you, but I can trade with you, but then I have an additional layer of risk that is coming on top of my centralized exchange risk behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an issue we had to overcome. So this trust issue, and I would say, to be honest, you just do lots of tiny small things which add up in trust. So, for example, your DeFi infrastructure, you must audit it. And for example, talking to Spark, I think this is was the most deep and complicated due diligence we have ever had in our life. So if basically now you can say if Spark trusts in you with a 5 billion balance sheet, it of course massively increases your the way you look in front of your clients. in terms of like a CeFi infrastructure, the off-exchange settlement, like preparing yourself for SOC 2 compliance certificates, all these tiny things, they create like, like this like trust for your clients, but definitely counterparty risk is an issue, and I think like you do not solve it in one day. It is like lots of small wins, but the most interesting thing that you don't do that like necessarily for the clients just to get trust. All the things they are actually built to provide security and transparency of clients' funds. It's not that you get get audited just to get through the due diligence process. You get you get audited actually to like protect your protocol. And the thing is that like security is not like a point in time thing. It is a process. So I would say that like lots of our internal security procedures, they're way more strict even compared to those things which are being asked by our clients. So, but yeah, definitely counterparty risk is something you need to just like daily work on and basically to prove to your clients that you're not a risk for them.
Sari or Sam, I don't know what you think, but there's been a lot of chatter in the market. Now we have all these, what you refer to, Alexander, all these off-exchange solutions in the market, right? I would argue that when I talk to funds or traders in the space, they would argue that I'd rather face a crypto exchange that I know is very profitable, is literally liquidity is, they know when you're making money, than a lot of these custodians that we're not even sure like if they're profitable, if they're there, yeah, okay, and the custody solutions, they're maybe regulated, but at one point, if you're profitable, there's an argument there. What's your view of these off-exchange solutions that we have in the market? Do you think, obviously a lot of these boom post-FTX, do you believe the solutions now are good, or how do you see this industry of off-exchange solutions is going to evolve? And especially in the context of prime brokerage.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, generally, I think it's important for institutions to hold someone responsible. And that's the general issue with like DeFi and institutions right now. There is basically no one takes responsibility when everything goes to shit. And I feel like institutions are more comfortable working with qualified custodians in tri-party setups or generally regulated entities because they can be held responsible.
Yep.
You can sign service level agreement with them and expect a certain level of service. And I feel it's not going away. I feel like this is probably the point where DeFi has to adapt, not the other way around. Find a way to work with institutions in a reputable and regulated manner as well.
You don't think it'll be the other way around? These big institutions will realize the transparency of DeFi and...
Well, I mean, it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
The best thing about DeFi is transparency and abstracting away counterparty risk as well.
Yep.
And but it also abstracts away sort of responsibility. Like nobody knows what's responsible for, and nobody is held accountable. So I feel like there is still like a format that the industry is naturally coming up with, and for us, it's a combination of solutions as well. We started with DeFi infrastructure, but we are driven with what client needs and what like client wants. So we are like focused. Our roadmap is focused on like what clientele needs. So we started including CeFi infrastructure. I mean, if we wanted, we would put margin engine completely on chain as well.
Yeah.
But there is no computational power.
Yeah, exactly.
Currently on chain, so it's off chain. And the best user experience involves the best computational power. So I mean, we just like basically building whatever the client needs at each point in time. And I feel like in the future, in the long term, it's still a combination of centralized and decentralized things.
On what the client needs, right? So let's focus on what you guys discussed before on the basis and funding trading, for example. Okay. For that trade to work, you need capital, you need cross-portfolio margining, but then you also need to be able to fix your cost of borrow, to be able to see if actually your funding trade makes sense. How are you guys dealing with that fixing of the cost of borrow, especially as you guys have such a big balance sheet behind?
I would say that actually within our ecosystem, we support like different types of interest rate models.
Yep.
Like utilization-based, fixed rate, but also one of the like recent advancements we've made in like in developing the interest rate model is a model which is called dynamic spread. So what we have seen that in some of the market environments, lenders are massively underpaid when the borrowers make 30, 40, 60, 70%. So essentially what like we do, because our like systems, they calculate the performance of borrowers very well. So like we have like a very good way to estimate how much they make. And the idea of this interest rate model is to take a spread from what they make on their capital to create this, like a favorable environment for them to loop.
Yeah.
And it starts to make sense for everyone. Because essentially, when you as a hedge fund make 30%, you would borrow with a 10 or even 15% borrow cost. You will do that because when you multiply it by x3, you start making 60 on 50. While at the same time, your lender starts being, they get compensated fairly for taking this risk to generate 15% return on their capital. So like this, like dynamic spread model, it's, it just creates the environment where everyone has a win-win.
But do you believe, because it's very interesting what you're saying, Alexander, here you're letting the lenders participate in the upside more than just normal lending that they're doing to exchanges. But in crypto trading, in particular in DeFi trading and in centralized trading, we have a balance sheet problem. Basically all the funds borrow from the exchanges and there's a X number of capital that is available. Do you believe this is a solution to fix that balance sheet problem? Especially from your perspective, Sam, I mean, what do you think will attract more capital in the space? We've seen some change recently, with the Hayden Road acquisition from Ripple that brings balance sheet. Obviously, players like you entering the space. What do you think will change that balance sheet issue?
I view, especially with USDS, as the third largest stablecoin and the largest on-chain fractional reserve stablecoin. I view the growth of stablecoins as going to feed into the demand for yield. So this is going to just, as the stablecoin market grows, and I agree with the projections that it's going to be on the order of 3 trillion by 2030, some percentage of that is going to go into yield-bearing stablecoins, and USDS is positioning itself as the top position for that. So I think the balance sheets are just going to naturally grow as a consequence of stablecoin adoption.
Interesting. Yeah, so the growth of the ecosystem will bring more balance sheet.
I guess I just wanted to add to this particular problem because it's quite a big topic for us. There is like paradox in industry, right? We are constantly plagued by liquidity crunches. Everyone needs liquidity, but for the most deals that we saw, borrower gets the most of the upside. So there is a paradox. So we think that like pricing is a big solution to that, and this is what we are working on. Like mezzanine loans, sharing upside with lender, giving them more return, we're actually open up like this Pandora box of a lot of liquidity if you're able to share like the spoils, not only borrowers get them. And from our point of view, like this is a big unlock, so that's why we are heavily focused on implementing innovative interest rate models that can essentially share more spoils with lenders.
Very interesting. Sarah and Alexander, I used to work, my background, I was a hedge fund lawyer, and I worked in prime brokerage for many years. I was at UBS actually here in Hong Kong. And I used to see the millions the bank would spend in building their prime brokerage tools. Now that you guys have built this in the DeFi world, right? How do you see, which one do you think is easier to build? A prime brokerage in DeFi? I mean, DeFi, CeFi, or TradFi prime brokerage, in your opinion, now that you've built it?
I mean, the way we've built DeFi prime broker in a way that we build it is essentially impossible in TradFi. Because like in TradFi, what you need to build is essentially a counterparty. You need to be immediately regulated. You need to immediately have a huge amount of money backing you up so that like very big institutional players can face you. But what DeFi allows you to start with, it allows you to abstract away counterparty risk to smart contracts and to software level. And because we were able to enable like self-custody solution, all of the counterparties that we started working with actually focused on smart contract risk. Of course, we are now started to have built ourselves up as a counterparty, but allowing to start with infrastructure level allowed us to start working with big institutional and regulated clients almost instantly, which is impossible in TradFi. And I guess that's why we're here, like in crypto general, for this kind of opportunity.
It's very, very interesting, huh? And do you believe the model will change? Right now, if you think about how crypto trading happens, a fund goes on an exchange, basically is getting a margin loan on the exchange, and that exchange is doing its portfolio margining. And of course, there's now crypto prime brokers coming in, and there's a whole dynamic. We look 5 years down the line. You know, we're back here in 2031 on a panel. Do you believe that the biggest majority of, let's say, hedge fund trading will happen, crypto hedge fund trading will happen via prime broker platforms like yours? Or you think that the exchanges will still play a big role in having this margin loans that they're giving to big traders?
I mean, the thing is that when you take a look at the hedge funds, they are, by the nature, they try to squeeze as much capital as possible from the system. So the core idea of like a borrowers and hedge funds is risk-taking, right? So
Yep.
it's essentially what they do. And I would say that what we see, that how DeFi and crypto progresses, that it kind of in a way reinvents the financial system, but still like it kind of converges to where the point, you know, where the current financial system is, but in a better way, in a more efficient way. It's more like technological, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I would say that if you take a look at the hedge funds now, you cannot operate at scale being a hedge fund in traditional finance space unless you have prime brokerage.
Yeah.
And I think this is what would eventually happen in crypto space, and that's why we just need it.
Yeah, I would add here that prime brokerage generally benefits from maturity of the market. When the yields compress,
Yep.
like when competition increases for the capital for hedge funds to fundraise, leverage is inevitability, and working with efficient counterparty who can provide you maximum capital efficiency and helps you to compete for each like ROI percentage point, it's it's inevitable.
Because you know now we talk about RWAs, like the tokenization. Before we used to call this tokenization, security tokens, but let's say think about now that let's say financial markets will be tokenized. Let's assume the next decade or 22 decades. I would argue that crypto native prime brokers have an edge to actually, it's easier for you to prime broker tokenize S&P stocks than actually for my old employer, UBS, to start getting involved in DeFi and CeFi. Like, do you believe, because if let's say this change happens of tokenized securities, do you believe you guys have an advantage over this TradFi PBs over the next decade?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that we definitely have the advantage. And when you asked about like building prime brokerage, the good thing that unfortunately these big prime brokers are institutions which were established, some of them hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And what the issue with they have is that they have this huge amount of legacy infrastructure and code they cannot get rid of because everything would just fall apart.
Yeah.
While we were able, like from a tech standpoint, to build, you know, like a prime brokerage as a service technology platform which is optimized since day one for building out a user case, to roll out a user case. So essentially, for example, for us to integrate a new exchange into our like walled garden, it takes 2 weeks of development time and 1 month of test, and a total 1 month of testing, which is like a very fast pace. So, and that's where, of course, we do have the advantage because we are like more agile and we're able to support new user cases in a much faster way. So, for example, a good thing that, I mean, except for like CeFi, DeFi, we also start taking a look at TradeFi to actually integrate TradeFi venues like CME into inside. And we just approach it since day one, asking ourselves, okay, how do we do this and and implement this in the most efficient and fast way to deliver like our clients and lenders this solution?
But how do you think from a risk perspective? You think about, okay, CeFi risk is one thing, centralized TradFi risk is one thing, DeFi risk is something, but in DeFi, I mean, there's so many other risks. Think about liquidity tokens, LSDs, all the looping that takes place. Even then you have all the RWA, which is like treasuries, and even the stablecoins. How are you finding the whole risk management around this? Like, how do you find the experience of building that? Because I think that's quite complicated. I think a lot of people underestimate the risk involved because with all these tokens and the embedded risk as well of these different instruments.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for us, like there are two principles that are main whenever we try to collateralize new assets or new financial primitives in DeFi. It's essentially pricing and liquidation. There are two questions we need to answer. How do we price this new financial primitive that was spawned out of DeFi ecosystem, and how do we liquidate it? If we are able to answer those questions in institutional manner, in scalable manner, then we are able to collateralize these assets. There is like not that many actually new LP tokens that have a proper like oracle to price.
Yeah.
I mean, we even had a situation where like there was a lot of hedge funds asking us to collateralize very institutional, even regulated asset, heavily backed by VCs, but they decided to not build the pricing oracle because they were like too important, just hard coded, one-to-one is going to be a good collateral, guys. We didn't collateralize it. And on the other hand is liquidation. Is basically if we provide 10 million loan to someone backed by this asset, will we be able to like liquidate it in a case like of stressed situation? And if answer is yes, then we are able to collateralize.
But Siri, on that point of oracles and pricing, right? So in traditional PB, it's easy. Markets open and close, and it's all level one pricing. It's easy. You have tons of feeds. Yeah. Where do you think we are, let's say from scale to 1 to 10, when it comes to DeFi oracles for pricing, which obviously is massive and like from a risk perspective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like the oracles, I would say that the system which was built for oracles is actually great, and this is what we really like about DeFi compared to TradeFi, because oracle is now considered as a source of truth.
Yeah.
Which is like commonly accepted by everyone.
Yep.
It is verifiable, and there is no ambiguity in what the Chainlink oracle price of Ethereum is. It is seen on blockchain.
Yeah.
I would say what we still need, because we have like a good set of market-based oracles, and we had this discussion with Sam yesterday that there are like a fundamental oracles which we need. Some protocols have built, especially truly DeFi native, great fundamental oracles which actually compare backing on-chain to the liabilities. But we think more and more, a centralized entities go into DeFi space, more centralized stablecoins, which is fine overall. But for this, I think we, on the oracles side, we need more of a real-time fundamental backing oracles to support this use case.
I think there's so much work to be done in that space as well. One quick question, Sam and Sarah, I don't know who wants to take it, but the risk-free rate, you mentioned before, there's all this balance sheet comes in crypto and DeFi. Do you believe, what do you think will be the risk-free rate? Do you think we're at the level that's so easy to have RWA tokens that the risk-free rate of crypto should be the treasury rate, or should be like SOFR, or should be even the staking rate, of yield of some of these tokens? When do you think we'll get to a risk-free rate in crypto or in DeFi?
Yeah, I can answer that. So I definitely don't think that SOFR is the risk-free rate as of right now. I think there's lots of risks with DeFi lending at this stage. So me personally, I would demand higher yield than SOFR, but I think long-term it will converge with SOFR for USD stablecoins. I see no reason why not as finance comes on-chain.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting how this literally, the title of his it's all convergence, right, and coming together on that perspective. Guys, now my best friend, my Bell, is here with me. So I'm going to ask you quick questions, and I want 1 or 2 word answers, and the Bell is here to keep us honest. You guys are ready?
Okay.
Sam, I'm starting with you, first one. What's exciting you the most about the crypto ecosystem right now for the year ahead?
Prime brokerages.
Prime brokers. Sorry.
Me too.
Yeah.
Actually, convergence of CeFi, DeFi, TradFi, like collateralizing gold, providing loan to equities, and DeFi basis trading, for example.
Super exciting on that front. Alexander?
I would say derivatives, especially OTC.
Here we go. There's a lot of stuff happening there. Now the opposite one. What's the biggest risk you think we're facing this year as a crypto ecosystem?
I would say counterparty risk.
Counterparty risk still here, huh?
Yeah, I agree. Counterparty risk. Another big blow up will send us back a bit.
Well, this time we'll go back way too far, probably. Sam?
Yeah, I would say, same. Counterparty risk.
I'm starting with you, Sam, on this one. If you're 18 years old again and you have the choice to go back to university, what would you study and what courses you would take knowing what you know about the future of finance?
I would buy a lot of Bitcoin, I guess.
And drop out of school, forget
Yeah,
tuition
exactly.
fees.
Well, I would still study mathematics, maybe a little bit more computer science, but for me, crypto is a mathematical problem. So
Mathematics, here we go.
I wouldn't change anything because I was studying mathematics and computer science. So
No, every math guy always tells me they would study math again. I've done this so many times, it's so interesting. Another one actually is very interesting. If you were not in the crypto industry, what industry would you be in?
TradeFi.
TradFi. You go back to the devil side.
well, I mean, I'm originally from TradFi, but I would rather do, I don't know, film movies.
Movies. Oh, what kind of movies?
I don't know, comedies probably.
Here we go.
Have a laugh.
I was in video game development before, but I think I would probably be in AI right now.
Yeah, lots happening. Sam, what's the best piece of professional advice you've ever received? Best professional advice you've ever received?
I would say just start building stuff. Don't ask permission. Just start doing things.
Just build.
Yeah.
Survive. Survive.
Survive. Yeah, very relevant for this year in
Long
crypto.
enough.
Find an industry with the least competition and high scalability.
I love it. This is an interesting one. President Trump gives you a call and says, what's your advice for him to build a crypto ecosystem globally? What advice do you give to President Trump?
Please just stop making tweets on Friday night.
Yeah, thank you for your support, but you can leave us alone.
I would say allowing yield on stablecoins would be a net benefit for the world.
Yeah. Two questions left. This is one of my favorites. I'm starting with you, Sam, on this. You have to start a new business. You have the choice of these four co-founders. Who do you pick? CZ, Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, or Taylor Swift?
I would say Jeff Bezos.
Why is that?
The guy can hustle. He can execute for sure.
Here we go. Sorry.
I would pick the most influential person in the world, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Here we go. You guys probably have very complementary skills as well there.
I mean, if I have to choose one, I would choose Jeff Bezos. But I think CZ and Taylor Swift duo would be very powerful.
And to finish it off, guys, on this great panel on CeDeFi and the future of crypto prime brokerage, this is my traditional question asked anybody comes on my TV show or my podcast. And I'm going to start with you, actually, Alexander. If you could have lunch or dinner with one person, dead or alive, lunch or dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would you have lunch or dinner with?
Well, actually, you definitely should know this guy. Do you know Jim Simons from Renaissance Technologies?
Of course. Here we go.
I was initially, very kind of impressed by what he has done.
Yeah.
So I would take a lunch.
Another mathematician as well,
Yes.
and probably the best hedge fund manager ever. Sari.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Simmons is a good
As
pick
well.
to
My
just
God.
learn his secrets, trading secrets a bit.
My God, I love Renaissance will be happy with this. And to finish it off, guys, this panel on CeDeFi at Consensus 2026 in Hong Kong. Sam, you could have lunch or dinner with one person, dead or alive. Who would you have lunch with?
I'll go with Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Why is that?
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy.
He's the man.
Yeah.
Guys, a big hand of applause on our panel right on time. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference here today. Thank you.
Thank you.